Oh, Banky, come on. Brush your teeth before you come to bed.
Yeah. Bobbles bobble.
You bastard.
And this ain't even an episode of Brad Ruins Rob's Day.
This was the most successful you have been at legitimately ruining Rob's day.
Yeah.
And it's not even an episode of your goddamn show.
No. This is, we just spent a nice, quiet Monday evening together.
In my house, where I come to play with my toys.
And you are throwing all of your bobbleheads away after this.
I don't get the... I don't understand the bobblehead thing.
I have a couple.
I have zero. There's some at the studio, but I think they're gifted to us. I don't think, Doug doesn't buy them.
I've got a Mr. Bill one. That might be it. I might have a Jason Voorhees one.
I guess people who have a couple or something. I don't get the... I don't know.
Oh, that's okay.
I feel like
because the guy in this movie
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Because the guy in the movie didn't have a collection either. It's a movie.
Yeah, I only had 3 in the whole house.
So it's a movie about a collector who is a casual collector as well, sort of, or maybe they just couldn't afford animation on more than 3 or 4 bobbleheads that are in the Bobbleheads movie, just enough so where they can stack on top of each other and say the line, "All right, guys, let's do it, Tower of Bobble." It's not often you see a Tower of Babel reference thrown out in one of these.
Brad, never forget the moral of the story.
Bobbles bobble.
And bring joy. Mm-hmm. There was no joy brought to me.
And that
I can
joy,
tell you that.
Bobbleacious joy. As they say a couple of times in the movie, bobbleacious.
It amazes me, and only you could do this. Only you. I have managed, because of the Rona, to not see pretty much anything this year.
Yeah.
And yet, somehow...
The Bobbleheads movie.
You somehow, not only do I get to not see Dune in December, the same week it comes out, I get to replace it, or it's supposed to come out, I get to replace it with the Bobblehead movie. Only you could have found something this bad and gotten me to see it before the year ends as the perfect cherry on top to this shit Sunday that has been this year. I loathed this movie. I really thought it would be impossible to find something worse than Playing with Fire that we would
we found
together.
it.
Oh my God, is this worse than Playing with Fire? Playing with Fire was memorably bad. It was fascinatingly bad. This is... I'm
actually kind of speechless about this movie, to be perfectly honest.
There's no stakes. There's no stakes. I'm like, nothing happens in this movie. Not a goddamn thing. The closest we got is the redneck's wife nearly tries to murder her husband.
In the last 20 minutes when it becomes a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah, it becomes like a Coen Brothers movie crossed with Home Alone.
Yeah.
And we were joking because she, I said, watch, she's gonna, bash his head in and then, drown him in the fish tank or something. So, that almost happened. She bashes his head in, throws him in the trunk, ties him up, throws a bobblehead in his mouth, and closes the trunk. I'm like, holy shit, this is going to turn to Goodfellas. She's going to open that trunk again in the middle of the woods and be like, shut up. Fucker won't die.
I got a sixth sense for what's a Brad and Rob movie. Later this week, I gotta watch the Michael Bay pandemic thing. That's not a Brad and Rob movie.
You need to readjust what your definition of our movie is.
Because
I'm out of this relationship.
that ding went off in my head when I saw the trailer for War with Grandpa, and as soon as I don't think I saw a trailer for the Bobbleheads movie, but I did see the poster for it when it popped up on demand the other day, and ding, ding, ding. Hey, man, you want to watch the Bobbleheads movie?
This is hands down the worst thing that we have seen together. It's so disturbing because the animation is so bad that in the beginning, when the dad touches the bobblehead, I'm like, why is the dad's daughter 6 inches tall? And I realize, oh shit, That's the bobblehead. They all look exactly like the bobbleheads and the humans. Like, there is no difference. They all look plastic, cheap.
That rubber hair
Yeah.
that even the humans have. They look rubber, plastic, and this...
The animation is so bad, it looks like this was one of those, like, Netflix shows for toddlers. Like, if you go for, like, 'cause I have a niece... So if you go to, like, Netflix for kids, you'll see advertisements like the sing-along playtime. Like, you know, it just feels like that. Like they spent $10 on this.
Yes,
and that was it.
But you can trick someone into watching it by saying, from the director of Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame and Beauty and the Beast and Atlantis.
I feel
Kirk Wise.
I feel so bad for Kirk Wise. I don't know, this must have just been a paycheck or something, but I'm like, I don't, like, I get the feeling this isn't his fault, because I'm like, I just feel like they probably just threw like $5 at this movie.
There's no money on this.
There's no money. There's no talented writer.
There's some things about it though where I'm like, I don't know how much improved certain things could be on by money, because this was
a bobblehead movie.
Well, and also this was one of the more physically harder to watch movies I've seen in a long time.
The first problem I had is they're bobbleheads, and like every time they talk, they go.
And so you're like,
and I'm like,
I guess they have to. It's a Bobbleheads movie.
But they all look like they have Parkinson's or something. Like, because they're literally the whole time. They're like shaking, and it makes you dizzy.
Yeah.
What if I saw this on a big screen? Like, I was watching on my big TV.
Yeah.
If I was on the big screen, I would, after about 5 minutes, be like, I gotta go. My retinas are burning.
I would have been like, this was the most nauseous I got watching a movie since Jason Bourne. Like, I came close. That's one of the few times I've actually come close to getting sick in a movie. And this, I didn't because we were watching it here.
The Bourne Identity, and then Blair Witch. Those were the two where I was like, I'm getting physically sick watching this. This, if I saw it on the big screen, would. Every single scene where they do that, I'm like, this is just annoying me. Every single scene annoys me.
The only time I had to really, really, really look away was because it's jarring when you're seeing their heads moving like that through the whole movie, and it's
like a Kevin
dizzying.
Spacey performance. It's just or George Clooney.
Yeah. And also, there's a part where one of them gets stuck in a ceiling fan, and it keeps going where it's spinning around and around and around and around. That was the one part I had to look away because I was already kind of nauseous watching this movie between all of these characters talking like
well, and that's just the writing. No,
And I also have some universe questions too, because it is like a Toy Story kind of universe.
So they're self-aware.
Yeah.
They know, it's our human. There's like a code, a bobblehead code.
Yeah.
Of which they all have their different, until bobblehead share. That's a thing. Says that, no, the bobblehead code, that the moral of the story is bobbles bobble and bring joy.
That's near the end of the movie where the spaceship comes in with bobblehead share to give them the
bobblehead
pep
share
talk that they need on top of a trampoline.
Who looks like the sort of thing I see when I overdose on NyQuil.
It was haunting.
Like, you have one of those moments where you're just like, I want to see some shit, so you just take the whole bottle of NyQuil, and that's like, and then you're just like, oh, fuck. And bobblehead share.
And we predicted, too, that this movie would end with a dance number, because why wouldn't it?
Well, I was saying the only way this could be more dated is if they ended with Smash Mouth. They didn't do that. Or Gangnam Style was the other one we were saying. It's like, it should be one of those, All-Star Gangnam Style. But
it does end dated because it does end with a Cher and bobblehead dance number that, again, is the most haunting final dance number I've seen in one of these animated movies.
It is nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Pure nightmare. I don't think I'm going to sleep tonight.
Which ends with Cher saying the line, "I got you, Bobble." That is the last line in this film. I got you, Bobble, because this thing has been in development for 35 years. So there are 35 years worth of random references and slang. It'll have a bunch of modern slang forced in there, but also stuff that's about 20 years old.
So 86, and then they started developing this?
I guess, yeah,
'Cause
85, 86.
I feel like I've lived through 2 Bobble phases. There was the one in the late 90s.
That's, yeah.
Or in the 90s. I don't remember one in the 80s.
I didn't know they were around this long, because you looked it up.
And then there's the like kind of recent one.
Yeah.
Where they've bounced back.
I remember
that.
I remember them coming around in the 90s, so I always just attributed it to a 90s thing, but these things have been around for like a freaking century or something.
Technically, according to the Wikipedia article I read, that Wikipedia article, by the way, was way more interesting than the movie.
Yeah.
They go all the way back to the 16th century. They were like made out of porcelain, and apparently in Asia there were some little cat statues and stuff, and
it's like finding out Henry VIII had a Furby.
Yeah. and you know who was big into making them? And I think this should tell you something about the movie. The Germans. That's when they went out of vogue in the U.S. for a while. They were Germans. We were importing them from Germany in the 20s and 30s, and then something happened. I don't know what, but we stopped getting
the stocks on bobbleheads went down. but even I understand the rules and everything of Toy Story. This is like
there's no rules here.
Oh, but the ones that makes it disturbing.
Makes sense. That's what,
it makes it disturbing because this is kind of like Toy Story, but if only the army men came to life, so the bobbleheads can come to life. But then at one point, one of them almost drowns in a toilet. Because, it's got that
and we remember we looked at each other, it's like, how does a toy drown?
They have to hold their breath and drown. And the most disturbing thing about that is if one of them does die from drowning or by something else, it's not like the human is going to find this in the toilet and think it's dead. So how many corpses
are just lying? Well, if you think about the way they're sealed in the plastic boxes, it's just we're surrounded by little tiny coffins.
Yeah.
You don't get air in there. There's no air in there. They're all dead. They're all dead.
Julian Sands is the cat, and again, it's hard to differentiate between a lot because you're right. Their heads look like the regular human heads in this, which again makes it disturbing when you see the back of them that looks like it's a severed head put on a child's body. And the cat just looks like a cartoon cat, but he's a bobblehead, so he's constantly shaking around and everything.
This was one of the most ill-conceived things I have ever seen in my entire life, where I'm like, the very idea is bad. That you would watch a movie with something that just does this.
Yeah.
The whole way through. It's like Titanic. It broke me on every level that a person can be broken.
But
it should be banned by the Geneva Convention. I'm convinced this is what they were showing the prisoners of Abu Ghraib. It is one of the worst fucking things I have ever seen. It is so terrible.
Are you going to get a call from Doug at some point? Be like, I think we should do the bobbleheads.
No, because I don't want to. Playing with fire was at least entertaining to show Doug and have him like this. Like I would just fall asleep. I was falling asleep on the couch there. You could probably see me like dozing off. Like what? Like has anything happened?
I was looking up trivia on my phone about the movie. And I was trying to find out too if at one point whether or not Larry the Cable Guy was signed up for this because the villain kind of looks like him.
It really does.
But it's Luke Wilson. And
can we talk for a split second? Like two separate things. One, did you ever talk to your bobbleheads?
No.
Like I know they're using like a magic 8-ball, but the way this girl comes back immediately, she's like, "Hey, bobblehead," and tells the whole life story. I'm like, this girl looks like she's 10. What 10-year-old is talking to a... I don't know. Maybe I missed that phase in my life where I would just impart my entire life story to one of my toys. But I could pass the age of 5.
Yeah.
The other thing is the parents... I think, as you noted, Dad somehow went through puberty on vacation.
Oh, he comes back with a much deeper voice.
Yeah, he comes back with this much deeper voice. Yeah. There you go, little lady. He's like John Wayne all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about Mom. What I'm guessing is that she's an engineer and she designs roller coasters.
Yeah.
And they've got a model and they use an egg, and the egg flies off. And I wasn't really thinking about it at that point. I'm just like, oh, it's a model. But at the end, the bobbleheads, crack engineers that they are, fix it and make it work. And I go, oh, it's changed. They put the car through, and the car goes the whole way through, and she's like, and no fatalities. And right then it hit me. I'm like, did you seriously design a roller coaster that had fatalities? I don't care if that's your first draft. If you're working in this industry, your first draft should not even have a fatality. You can have the G-forces are a little excessive. Something might get a little barfy. You should not have a dead person. I'm like, what kind of engineer is she? Holy fuck.
I leaned over to you and said that's because she went to her engineering school by just playing Roller Coaster Tycoon. She's like, all right, we got to make sure no one flies off the coaster. We got to make sure the guy in the panda suit doesn't drown.
We need to make sure there's enough handymen to clean up all the barf. God, I wish I was playing that game instead of watching this.
I know. I miss playing that game.
And you know what the beauty of it is? Both of them, are from the 90s. This movie just feels like it came from the 90s. This movie feels so dated.
I would have loved seeing Julian Sands in the voice booth doing some of these lines, because he's the cat, and he's going that was certainly Bobblicious. This sure is the perfect evening. Between the puns, the slang, there's movie references in it to The Natural.
Yeah, I didn't get that. My favorite is this is a movie that is so cheap that you could tell the composer is ripping off the score to the movies that they're satirizing. The Natural. There was there was a scene I think out of Chariots of Fire.
Yeah.
And it's so cheap that they can't get the original music. The composer isn't allowed to just quote it, which is normally what you would do. It's so cheap they can't even do that. So it's just something that sounds vaguely like it. It's just
it's
so
it's bad. It's a lot of bad animation qualities of movies you and I have seen, but done intentionally. You know how you see a cheap movie like Food Fight, where characters are just shaking all over the place. This is like that, but that's the point of it. It's intentional. They're intended
I'm glad you
for
brought
it to
up
be
Food
like
Fight
that.
because this feels like Food Fight. It is that bad. Food Fight is objectively worse in a number of ways, but I feel like there's more money thrown at this thing than there was Food Fight. And that makes this unacceptable.
And Food Fight had an excuse in that a lot of their animation was it was stolen from a hard drive or something like that.
Exactly.
This was whoa. I mean, this does make the Ugly Dolls movie look like Toy Story. This this is I don't know if we would have seen this in a theater. If theaters were open, if this would have because
Well, I would have been seeing Dune, and then you would have been
and
hey, we should see this, and I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Why don't we see Bobbleheads? Dune will be out for months. Bobbleheads may only be here a week. because I have seen movies in theaters.
It's out only twice, Friday, and then special encore screening Saturday night before the studio pulls it.
I have seen, movies of this kind of animated quality on the big screen before. Usually it's a Fathom event or something like that.
This movie's so bad I wouldn't even want grandparents taking their grandkids to see it. I would feel sorry for the grandparents. Mm-hmm. No, nobody should see this movie. The only way you see it, I said this is the perfect movie for 2020.
Yeah.
One, you feel terrible watching it, which is how 2020 makes you feel. But two, it's the perfect thing to put on when you've got some 2-year-old just sitting there on the carpet in the little baby pen cage or whatever, and then mommy and daddy have to work because they're working from home. So you throw this movie on, and basically the baby's just staring at the bright colors. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like. It looks like something made for 2-year-olds. You said the writer actually worked on Barney the Dinosaur, and that's what it feels like.
Yeah, he's written a lot of Barney stuff.
This is almost a Barney the Dinosaur project.
And even a lot of those movies that you're talking about that are on Netflix, some of them I've seen and did reviews on, and even those have that Pets United or whatever it was.
Barney the I don't like Barney the Dinosaur, but it knows what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you go into Barney the Dinosaur knowing exactly what you're going to get. This, I don't know what, it feels like it's for 5-year-olds, but then there's like random references and jokes that like no kid would get, like that kind of thing. So I'm like, I have no idea who this is for.
Well,
like,
if it did come out in 1985, I would have gotten the natural reference.
Yeah, right. I wonder, that would be amazing if that was like the one joke that survived every iteration of the script going back to 85.
But even like something like Pets United that's on Netflix that's better put together than this is. And there are stakes. There's no stakes in this. In that one, there was,
nothing.
And it was... Sometimes movies like that will just kind of go full on weird, like that one did, where it's like, oh, it's like Secret Life of Pets crossed with Mars Needs Moms. Okay.
This is like 3/4 of this movie is just them wandering around the house.
Yeah.
With nothing happening. I mean, literally nothing happens in this fucking movie. I have never seen a movie with stakes this low where I'm like, literally nothing is happening. I'm sure I have. Maybe Doug and I have reviewed one for the NC, but I'm like trying to think of something where I'm like, literally nothing's going on. There are zero stakes. I couldn't believe it. I'm stunned. I'm speechless. Now I'm speechless.
Neither one of us could
Thumbs
talk.
down for me.
Neither one of us could talk very much during this movie.
No, we didn't. We were just staring at it in silence.
We would sometimes mimic some of the lines.
Yeah,
like,
every 20 minutes or so we'd crack a joke. But
yeah, and Julian Sands might say something like, I guess the cat's out of the bag on that one. Like,
there was a lot of like bad jokes, and then I would just turn to you and be like, fuck you. Go to hell, Brad, for this.
So what letter grade would you give this one?
Oh, like Z.
That's
something well below an F-. I gotta go to...
That's the same grade Jared gave Trump card.
Z. Yeah.
Yeah, if I gave an F to Faith Under Fire, which was at least like, I mean, it was a total F movie.
And I'm gonna say Z in an like one of those European alphabets that have like something like 30 letters instead of the normal 26 or something, like as low as you can get.
Yeah, because I agree with you. This movie is an F. It is. And I try to use, and I reserve like an F for movies like this. Yeah. And just last weekend with Faith Under Fire, that was at least like, that was an F on just pure filmmaking. Now, that one was funny to sit through. That was like Kirk Cameron Saving Christmas, where I'm like, I don't regret seeing this. This is the kind of
Playing with fire to a degree was fascinating to sit through.
I don't regret watching it.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to forget this.
Yeah.
It's an awful piece of shit, but I'm never going to forget it.
Yeah. This was, it was physically hard to sit through.
Yeah.
So for that it literally hurt watching it. And
it
that's
hurt my
rare.
eyes. It hurt my brain. I just was annoyed the whole way through. Almost from the first like few seconds.
I need to... Between this and Faith Under Fire, you really shouldn't get your hopes up if you see the Universal logo in front of something. Both of them did. And then it goes into... The biggest animation in the movie was a couple of the studio logos at the beginning, and then it goes right into Times New Roman font over black screen.
Yeah, my favorite though was it was like something like 5 logos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jesus, how many hands were involved in this? How many lawsuits are they going to have to fend off? Class action lawsuits from disgruntled parents.
At least, like, if parents are looking for something to where, like, all right, just put something on, there's plenty that won't cost you anything but the subscription to watch it on Netflix. Whereas this is on demand. You are paying money for just this movie.
I can't imagine. The only thing that I can imagine being a bigger con is like, fucking donating to Trump's Stop the Steal campaign or something. Take my money.
Maybe it'll all go to the Funko Pop movie that might come out like in a year or so. There's plenty of others. Funko Pop, we could get a Furbies movie.
God, stop.
Pogs. That might be a challenge. Try doing a Pogs movie.
Don't give them ideas. Just don't.
Was there ever a pet
This year's been bad enough. Stop it.
I feel like there was a pet rock thing.
I remember My Pet Monster. I don't know
remember.
if there's a pet rock. I mean, there was that Rubik's Cube cartoon
Rubik
show.
the Amazing Cube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that was shitty. Yeah, I will say this, as much as we complain, I'm like, listen, there are some cool things about the 80s, but we get a lot of shit, too.
At least that kind of thing is still fascinating to watch.
Cubert, the Frogger Show.
The Frogger Show, like, at least like that, like, we can pop that on and have a couple of drinks, and there might be something relatively fascinating about it, like that it is that
there is
kind
nothing
of time
fascinating
capsule.
about this.
That's not the case with this. And plus, Rubik the Amazing Cube, like 20 minutes long, like an episode. This is an 80-minute movie.
Oh God, and it just felt like it wouldn't end.
I know,
Like
man.
I'm like 80 minutes. Well, at least this will be a breeze, and I'm just like, no.
You go,
No,
if this is a
felt like-
minute over 90 minutes, I'm like, it's 80. And you know 5 minutes of that will be the ending credits.
And it was. So I don't know. I'm done. I want a divorce.
Well, this is
We're finished, you and I.
this is good news for the movies I got to watch in the next couple of days. Like, I see that Songbird movie's getting bad reviews, but luckily, in its case, it's the first movie I'm watching after Bobbleheads.
Anything you watch after Bobbleheads is just going to be automatic.
Jared will be like, Songbird, D minus. I'll be like, A+.
It's like that scene in Fight Club, you know. Your breakfast is going to taste better than any breakfast before. You're going to feel truly alive because you survived Bobbleheads.
That's the bobblehead I was. I survived Bobbleheads, and one of the what I'm sure will be a collectible character from this film. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. The Bobbleheads movie. It exists. It's a real movie in a universe of it's Colonel Sanders' Lifetime movie. Of course, there's a Bobbleheads movie, and I wish this was the movie that was only 15 minutes. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Go to
Take
hell.
care.